Good morning. It's Sunday, October 19, 2025. And I'm making this video in advance of anybody attacking me saying I hate women. Because I believe I don't really have a lot of subscribers. I don't have a lot of views, but I'm getting views. People are starting to watch my videos and listen to what I got to say. And I really appreciate all of the comments and support. But I'm really hoping to pour into the world something that can be constructive, something that will be helpful and beneficial. So this video is basically me letting you guys know that I don't hate women. I'm a big fan of women, but it's not an overblown version that I see in modern culture where we're gassing women up to believe that they're a man's equal, that men and women are the same. I think men play a very important role. We have strengths to deal with critters like mice and spiders and even vicious dogs in neighborhoods. We're willing to crawl underneath homes, deal with skunks and rats and gophers and creepy crawly things that make most women have the ultimate ick. And we're also very protective of society and culture in that certain men that would want to do violence against women are cautious in terms of how they conduct themselves, because if women have this notion that men are just evil, if that was really the case, they wouldn't really have a platform to complain, because the minute a woman gets on YouTube and somebody finds out where she is and where she lives, these evil men would probably go over there and want to do violence to her, which to me, I don't see that happening. I see it happening on a very, very small scale. But I would also say that sometimes, not to blame the victim, women do things to set themselves up for failure. You guys set yourselves up for failure. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to really let you guys know who one of the greatest heroes of mine is, and it would be my mother. My mother was a very unique woman in as much as that she was very, very beautiful, very intelligent, and she got married at age 21. She was a virgin at 21, and she always had reasonable and logical comments to make concerning her interaction with my father and the interaction that she had as a young woman. And she was raised by her father, my grandfather, because my grandfather was he was a white dude and he was a womanizer, so he was a philanderer. I don't know if he really married my grandmother, but the long and the short of it is, there was only so much that my grandmother was able to take with his philandering. And ultimately she yielded to have an affair with my grandfather's best friend, who was a black dude. And she ended up getting pregnant, and ultimately she left because she didn't know really what my grandfather would do. And my grandfather was one of these cats that was, even though he was white, he hung out and spent a lot of time with brothers, with black dudes, and they were kind of into doing a lot of illegal activities, you know. He was almost like a mob boss in the neighborhood that my mother grew up in, and he was a man of few words. He was a very happy man, though, because he prospered. But the long and the short of it, my mother didn't really have a grandfather that was a doting father. He was more this kind of a man who wanted his daughters, because he had 3 daughters and 3 or 4 sons. I mean, big family. And he was looking forward to the day that my mother got knocked up and he no longer had the responsibility of providing food, clothing, shelter for my mother. And so my mother, she had to grow up very fast because she was a fair-skinned woman with good hair, as black people would call it, light skin with good hair. And she would get into fights with the dark-skinned, nappy-head girls. And eventually she learned how to fight. She learned how to fight. She had no choice but to learn how to fight. So she started fighting these women back, and eventually these women left her alone in terms of fighting, because they knew there's a saying in black community: if you gonna take some or kick some ass, you better bring some, because you're gonna have to give some up in order to get it. And eventually the black girls would start playing the dozen, start name calling, teasing, and all this. And eventually my mother developed a good mouth. She learned how to play the dozens back better than most. And that was something I really admired about my mother. If you started trying to talk crap to her and play the dozen, she could easily tear you a new one with her mouth. But she was also good at recognizing that I can't beat up men and I can't do anything other than get attacked by a man physically. I could be physically assaulted, I could be raped. So many things that could happen to me if I don't watch and mind how I talk to men. And so I saw how my mother was able to keep her mouth very tempered in public scenarios. Like if she was at the mall walking with me and I'm like 5, 6 years old, young men and relatively older men are approaching my mother. Hey, how you doing? And she's like, I'm doing fine, thank you. You know, I just couldn't help but notice how beautiful you are and everything. I says, and she would say, yeah, and could you also notice that I got this baby rolling right here with me? He says, yeah, I saw that, but I wasn't sure whether or not you were married. I said, of course I'm married. Why would I be here with this young child and I'm not married? And he's like, well, are you happy? Negroes just kept pressing the issue to see if they could get just any point of leverage in the conversation, or any point where she would be laughed and humored into, yeah, you know what, I'm going to give you my phone number. She was very good at turning away these advances, but turning away the advance in a respectful and polite manner. She wouldn't denigrate the man. She wouldn't scream, you know, oh, why is this man bothering me? You know, I mean, it would just be a very cool and gracious way of basically letting the man know, look, I'm not interested. Thank you. I'm flattered that you're doing this. But, and most of the time she would say it more like this. And you got, ladies, take this one and put it in your purse and pull it out whenever you need it. I don't think my husband would be happy if I gave you my phone number. And I damn sure know for sure he wouldn't be happy knowing that I'm doing this and opening the door to other things happening between me and you, like us just becoming friends. I don't think that would be right. And I know you wouldn't want your wife to do that to you, right? And the man would be like, you know what, you're right. Have a nice day. And the men would walk away. Sometimes you got to beat men up with logic, women, and not just emotion, or not allow your emotions to get the better of you. Because as I told you with this postal supervisor story with my mother, you know, she spent probably at least 10 minutes just talking, you know, almost with a lustful desire about the supervisor being so handsome and being so attractive and being so not like Junior, who was my father. You know, he was so not like Junior. Oh my God, so handsome and tall. Junior's only 5'8". He's not really that tall. and this guy, he's got like he was fair skinned and had an afro and all of this, but Junior, I love Junior. Junior's my husband, and even though we're having problems, that's not the green light for me to go off and have sex with this man. Even though, she admitted that, her body was reacting and responding to, yeah, go ahead and get some of that, enjoy it, but she didn't. And I haven't heard of any stories where my mother had any affairs after her death or even before her death. But I have heard of stories where aunties have betrayed the trust, and I'm discovering, because most of these aunties, I would actually talk to them about some of the marital problems I was having with my own marriage. And she would accuse me of being a control freak. I'm trying to control my wife. And I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. No, I'm trying to let my wife make choices, but if she keeps making dumb choices, I can't sustain her making these dumb choices and continuing on. Even the Bible says that, Jesus said that sexual immorality is one reason for breaking up a family, along with if you become a Christian and the spouse refuses to become a Christian, that's not even grounds to leave. But if they leave on their own volition, then you're under no obligation to honor them as your husband or your wife. But even that particular case, Jesus said that it's up to you. It's going to be up to you whether you hang in there after they leave or not. But God is merciful and He's understanding. It's not good for any of us to be alone. And so that's one of the reasons why we got to really take the right attitude in getting married. We don't get married just because of this person having a lot of money and being what we want for now. We need to understand that this commitment is serious. It's more serious than getting a degree. It's more serious than getting a job. And it's more beneficial than all of these things put together, because with a job, when you lose your usefulness, they get rid of you. When you get sick, they get rid of you. When your performance is just not up to snuff, they write you up and they give you a warning telling you what you need to do to get your stuff together. And you need to do that. But it's at a point where my greatest hero is my mother. And ladies, I'm telling you, for all of the things that the world is telling you, hypergamy, you're hypergamous. No, you're not. You are a creature with agency. And that agency can be influenced by hormones. Yes, it can be influenced by testosterone. It can be influenced by estrogen. But ultimately, whatever influences you, you have the final say in the choice that you make. And it was kind of like, I was watching that movie with Halle Berry, Eddie Murphy, and baby girl who married Mike Tyson and clowned him. I can't remember her name. Boomerang. It was called Boomerang, where eventually Eddie Murphy finally gets the girl, and Halle Berry wasn't really the girl, but he ends up cheating on Halle Berry, and Halle Berry finds out what happened, and he's basically saying, I'm confused, I'm sorry, and she ends up slapping him. She basically said that love should have brought your ass home. That's what she said. Should have brought your ass home. And I'm like laughing, because I'm like sitting there saying, man, if the roles were reversed today, and the man, the woman, she's caught in adultery or she's caught cheating on Eddie, and Eddie's like, baby, what's going on? I'm so confused. I can only imagine where she said, what's going on? And she's like, I don't know what I want. I'm just so confused. well, love should have brought your ass home, and he slapped the crap. I mean, everybody be in an uproar with this mess. But all I can tell you, man, I give women a lot of credit, and it's based on what I saw my mother do countless times. Turning away advances from men at the mall, hearing these stories where I was privy. I was a fly on the wall underneath the bed listening to my mother recount these issues. And then talking to women that had cheated and done vile things. And I'm like, okay. I just think once a woman becomes broken, it is almost like that nursery rhyme of Humpty Dumpty. You're gonna have a great fall, and all the king's horses and all the king's men will not be able to put you back together to make you whole. So just be careful, ladies. Don't let your beauty, don't let all of these men making advances at you, looking at you and gassing you up to say you're so beautiful and all this, get you into a trick bag of thinking you can do whatever you want to do and you're not going to pay a price for it. There always comes a price and a cost, and I'd say most of the price you're going to pay is a loss of your good name, your good reputation. And even though the culture will say that nobody has the right to judge you this way, everybody's going to judge you, including yourself. And deep down inside, what you did was awful, what you did was immoral, and if you don't pay for it in this life, you're going to pay for it in the life to come. And just remember that there's no such thing as a free lunch, and Jesus can only save those who are truly remorseful and repentant. He cannot save those who cry, because even there's a passage in the Bible, I think it was the Apostle Paul, he wrote that the tears of a truly repentant person brings righteousness, but the tears of someone who's unrepentant brings judgment and calamity. So, and I know people that do that. They cry. Let me just tell you one story and then we're done. My sister got strung out on drugs, and she was a prostitute out in the street. Not gonna tell you which sister. But the long and the short of it was, there was this story she told me about a young man who looked like he was interested in becoming a drug addict. He was wondering, what's the big attraction? Why is drugs so great? I hear these drugs so great. And all these people are in and out of this dude's house getting drugs and everything. And she ran him off. She ran the young man off, and tearful, she turns around and she cries as she walks back into the drug house to consume more drugs and to continue the cycle of prostitution. And that's the kind of behavior of somebody who's headed to hell. She thought in turning this young man away that she's going to get a pat on the back, but her walking back, I'm pretty sure that young man was probably standing off at the corner at a distance looking, and he's like, oh my God, look at her, she's going back in. Man, this stuff must be really good, man. I think I'll wait a couple of hours and I'm gonna go back in there and I'm gonna see what all of the fanfare and hoopla is about with this crack and cocaine and all these drugs. I'm gonna get me some. I gotta get me some. I'm gonna find out, because all of the cool people I see on TV, they're using drugs and everything, and and ultimately he goes back to using drugs. So she's not doing anything to really benefit herself or the community. But in her mind, she thought she did a good deed for the day. But anyway, I'm gonna make another video talking about women in a positive light, because women, the only thing that's gonna make you guys better is you. The world can basically make you think you're a man's equal, and that you can do whatever a man can do. You can do whatever a man can do. Yes, you can. But do you do that? Do you go underneath houses? Do you I tunneled. I did a sewer repair just this past weekend. In fact, we finished it up yesterday. And I had to tunnel about 8 feet into the earth to complete the repair. I don't know how many women would do that. And many women were walking past as I was doing the work, and I'm jokingly says, "Hey, ladies, I need some help. Would you be able to help me?" She says, "What? I'd like for you to come in here and continue digging to expose the pipe, so these people will be able to use the bathroom again. And don't mind the muddy water. It's just urine and poop water. It's okay." And they're like, "Oh, hell no! I'm not doing. I'd never do that." I'm like, "Why not? Equal rights. Come on, ladies." And have a nice day would be how I ended it. They grin and smile at me, and it just illustrates a point that you guys only want to do the things that men glamorize, that society glamorizes, and for that's y'all's downfall. Talk to you guys later.